Good morning. This is Shelby Law with the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Briefing for Monday, March 10th, 2025. Precipitation for the last 7 days is shown here on the left. We had a pretty good storm system move through late last work week, bringing some higher precipitation totals to the mountains of Utah, from northern Utah all the way down to southern Utah. 30 days percent of average is shown here on the right. And we are seeing some higher values, or at least over the last 30 days with some of the storms we've had over Utah and southern portions, increasing that percent of normal, but still some dry pockets out there. The central Idaho mountains have been a little bit dry for the last month, northwest Nevada, and certainly still some pockets across the south. Snowfall for the past 72 hours is shown here. Again, this is just the lingering snow from the storm that came through late last week. This is just the snow on Friday. Current snow info here on the left is showing the current inches of depth. We have a fair amount of snow still out there over the central Idaho mountains, western Wyoming, and Utah, even down into the southern Utah mountains. There's some snow, and then the mountains of northern and central Nevada as well. If we look at our snowpack percent of average, we're sitting right around average for many of our areas. Idaho, Wyoming, northern Utah, and much of Nevada is at or just above average, but we do have some lower values. The Sierra Front's below average, with those values coming in about the 80th percentile, and then even lower over central and southern Utah, with some pretty low values across the far south there. This morning's satellite imagery is shown here. Right now we're seeing a ridge of high pressure in place across the Great Basin for some generally sunny skies and warm temperatures today into tomorrow. Before things really start to change, we've got a series of storms lined up that are going to be moving through starting midweek through the first part of next week. Again, for today, high pressure ridge in place across the Great Basin. There is this low off the Southern California coast that will move into the desert southwest, but won't bring too much in the way of precip to Utah or to the Great Basin. But there is another storm developing quickly off the west coast that will bring a change in the weather starting on Wednesday. Ventilation rates are pretty good today across much of the area. Transport winds are generally light for the area, some gustier winds there over western Wyoming and northeast Utah, and mixing heights are pretty high today as well. On Tuesday, again, we see that low moving inland over Southern California, not doing too much for the Great Basin, but then we begin to see a low developing off the Pacific coast here. Ventilation rates are still pretty good area-wide on Tuesday. On Tuesday, we do begin to see some winds pick up across the area. Not too strong just yet, but definitely increasing out of the south and southwest. Mixing heights still staying pretty good, pretty high. And then on Wednesday, that trough strengthens off the Pacific coast, starts to bring some moisture into the Great Basin. Precipitation should begin on the west side of the basin late in the day on Wednesday or overnight Wednesday into Thursday. Ventilation rates really increasing on Wednesday area-wide. And we have the wind on Wednesday. Winds really increase, especially over Nevada, with gusts up in the 50 miles an hour or so. Again, ahead of that next trough moving into the area, and mixing heights are going to be very high as well on Wednesday. The forecasted clearing index for Utah is shown here. For the next couple of days, we've got some pretty favorable values, slightly lower across northern Utah today and tomorrow, but otherwise pretty high. The 3-day precip totals are shown here. Again, today and tomorrow should be generally dry days across the area, but then we'll see the precipitation moving in late on Wednesday into the western half of the area, Nevada, and up into the central Idaho mountains. This will be generally low elevation rain with high elevation snow. On Thursday, the trough swings into the western half of the Great Basin, bringing moisture into Utah. Precipitation will come into the state of Utah on Thursday with snow, low elevation mixed rain snow. Ventilation rates still staying high area-wide. And then that low quickly moves off to the east by Friday, with maybe some lingering showers here and there on Friday across the area, and ventilation rates still remaining very high. We could still see some precipitation on Saturday, especially over Utah, in that cool northwesterly flow. And then on Sunday, the next trough moves into the Pacific Northwest, increasing precipitation over western Idaho and parts of northwest Nevada before moving through further south through the Great Basin on Monday. The precipitation accumulations for days 4 and 5 is shown here. This is Thursday through Saturday. So again, most of this precipitation coming to Utah is coming in on Thursday, maybe lingering into Friday, and then some more precipitation coming in late in the weekend to the north. Quick look here at some of the forecasted temperatures and precipitation trends for Boise, Reno, and Salt Lake. Again, today and tomorrow, generally sunny skies with warm temperatures right around, the high is right around 60 degrees or so. And then on Wednesday, we start to see the precipitation move into Reno and Boise, and then the precip moves into Utah on Thursday, with temperatures down into the 40s by Friday across many of the valleys. The extended forecast for March 17th through the 23rd calls for below normal temperatures area-wide, with above normal chances for precip mainly across the central and southern portions of the Great Basin. So a good trend for our southern areas for sure. That concludes today's briefing. Please check back on Wednesday for the latest updates.